Hello and welcome to the Webcast for Monday, December 8th. I'm South Ops meteorologist Jonathan O'Brien. Visible satellite this morning shows an all too familiar sight across our region with clear skies in most areas, but a blanket of tule fog across California's entire Central Valley. While there will be some breaks in the clouds later today, full clearing is not expected, and that layer of clouds will likely continue to dog the Central Valley for the entirety of this week, while the rest of the state basks in sunshine and warmth. As has been the case for weeks now since the rains of mid-November, our weather pattern this week will be dominated by high pressure, and it will be peaking in strength over the next few days. The persistence of this high-pressure feature has been impressive, and it seems to be in no hurry to go anywhere anytime soon. And so, with the ridge firmly in place, the story for us is going to remain persistently warm and dry weather. Well above normal temperatures are expected this week. Here's a look at today's forecast highs, mainly in the mid-70s to mid-80s in the coastal valleys, upper 60s and 70s in the high desert, and 60s to low 70s across the lower mountains. The major exception, of course, remains the San Joaquin Valley, where the unrelenting tule fog will continue to keep temperatures much cooler, mostly in the 50s or even upper 40s. Most areas will continue to warm slowly through about Wednesday, which currently looks like the warmest day of the week overall. Some of the warmest valleys of Southern California may even approach the upper 80s by then. In terms of winds, they are going to be fairly light this week, which is usually what we see when high pressure is centered close to overhead. However, for the next couple of days especially, it will be offshore flow that prevails. Here's a look at some current wind observations across Southern California, with the wind gust values shown in red. We do have a few localized northerly to northeasterly gusts of 30 to 35 miles per hour. So while winds will stay light for the most part, a little bit of offshore breeziness will be with us through the middle of this week before a light onshore flow pattern returns by late week. Minimum humidity will remain mainly between 15 and 30% away from the much wetter San Joaquin Valley and its surrounding foothills through the end of this week. Some locally drier values in the upper single digits and lower teens are likely across portions of Southern California, mainly from Tuesday through Thursday, with some areas of poor recoveries as well, thanks to the light offshore flow. By the end of this week and into the upcoming weekend, it does look like the high-pressure ridge will finally start to weaken, and that will bring us a slow but steady cooling and moistening trend by the end of this week, with coastal valley highs dropping back into the upper 60s to mid-70s by Sunday. For much of last week, we were eyeing the upcoming weekend as a potential time frame to watch for a wholesale pattern change to a much colder and wetter pattern. However, now indications are not really pointing in that direction any longer. While there remains a good deal of uncertainty, most signs now point to the ridge actually re-strengthening early next week, keeping us warm and dry and likely pushing the earliest hopes for any sort of bigger pattern change back closer to the Christmas holiday week. Either way, we can say with high confidence that no precipitation is expected across the region through at least the upcoming weekend, probably beyond, and even Northern California is likely to come up empty on rainfall this week. The recent dryness has driven dead fuel moistures down significantly. Here's a look at the 100-hour dead fuel moisture trends for our South Coast PSA. Further drying is expected this week, and even some of the heavier dead fuel classes are now trending back closer to average for this time of year. Of course, we continue to have a strong low-elevation green-up present across our region, with most wildland fuels now in the live category as opposed to dead. Between that and the lack of any significant winds, significant fire potential remains very low across the region. The prolonged stretch of dry and warm weather could bring about a modest increase in initial attack this week and potentially beyond, with little end in sight to the dry conditions, but spread potential will remain very low, especially in the absence of strong winds. It's definitely a time to count our blessings. This is an extremely dry pattern, and if we hadn't had all the rain we received in November, we'd be having much different conversations right now about fire danger, given how warm and dry it's been. As it is, we should still be in good shape through the holidays, but we'll definitely want to see a change in the pattern sooner rather than later. That's it for today's webcast. Thanks for joining us. The next one will be on Wednesday, December 10th.